42% of leads are wasted before anyone even replies. 80% of business owners rely on generic autoresponders, which don't work well at all, so they're losing even more leads. Now today, I'm going to be showing you something completely different. If you want to save more than 10 hours per week and double your conversion rates, all while spending even less money than you currently are, then keep watching. Now, if you're new to this channel, my name is Rahul and I run a 6-figure AI automation agency based in London, where we specialize in building AI agents to help businesses convert more leads while saving money and countless hours of time. We're currently on our way to 7 figures, so I'll be documenting the entire journey on this channel, where you can see the exact AI systems we're building and see what's really possible. If you want some of these exact systems for yourself, you can access them in my free school community. The link is in the description below. Okay, now let's get back to the core aspect of this video. So how does this system actually increase conversion rates? Now, when an inbound lead interacts with a business, there are 3 core phases of that process. So the first phase would be the initial outreach, where the customer fills out a form or might send in a WhatsApp message, which would give their details and just let us know that they're opting in. The business then processes that query and then responds in a way which drives the conversation forward and actually drives the lead towards a specific conversion event, which could be booking them in for a call, joining a free trial, or joining a taster session, or something similar. And one of the core pillars of this phase is personalization. So we want to make sure that the initial outreach to that lead is personalized based on the information they've given us when they filled out the form. Now, the second phase of this process would be the actual main conversation. So this process involves everything. We need to make sure we have a layer of personalization. We also want to pre-qualify the lead whilst building that desire for the product or service we're offering. And then eventually get them directed through. So we present them with the call to action, get them pushed through the funnel to sign up for that free trial, book in that call, or come in for that taster session, or whatever the actual offer is. And then the third aspect of this process, which is the follow-up. Now, this is often overlooked and not executed perfectly, but it's arguably one of the most important aspects of this process. People often get busy, right? So this phase actually involves processing the context of the entire conversation to understand whether or not a follow-up is applicable. If it is applicable, then the follow-up would be generated based on the context of the conversation, so it's completely personalized. And again, we want to drive that lead, build that desire, and push them towards the call to action. Okay, so that's a really high-level breakdown of the entire system. Now let me actually show you it in action. Okay, so for this demo, the lead is going to be coming through a Facebook form. So this is the Facebook form on screen, which you can see. So what we're going to do is we're just going to enter some information here. So let's first enter our details. Okay, so I've just entered some details. I've said, hi, I'm looking for solar panels for my house, and I just wanted to find out some more information and how much they cost. So this is a pretty general message, which people would ask. So the AI agent we built on the back end is tailored for a solar panel company. It's called Solar London. So the message that I provided here is just, hi, I'm looking for solar panels for my house and just wanted to find out some more info and how much they cost. So pretty generic message, which people are likely to ask. And then obviously we filled out the form with our contact information. So let me just go ahead and submit that. Okay, now from here, we're actually going to go into the CRM and take a look at the conversations. Okay, here we can see the AI has responded, broken down its response into 5 short messages because that's exactly how humans respond. We don't tend to respond in one big chunk. We tend to break down our messages because it's easier to digest. So you can see here, the AI basically starts by introducing itself. It then answers the question about prices. It then presents a quick call to action to get the lead booked in for a quote. And finally tries to continue the conversation by asking another question. Okay, now just a quick note. This AI agent here is pretty good, but in a future video, we'll be delving deeper into the actual prompt engineering behind it, where we will start to evolve this AI agent and make it impossible to tell that it's actually AI. So if you want to see that, make sure you're subscribed. Okay, so I've just responded to the AI agent and you can see the response here. So the final question the AI asked was, are you looking for solar panels for your home or is it for another property? And I've said, I'm looking for my home. And then I've also sent a second message and said it's a 3-bed home. So it's not too big. I can maybe get 2 or 3 solar panels. Now you can see here, we've also got another part of the automation, which basically updates the pipeline. So the lead has been moved from the form field section to mid conversation because we're in the middle of a conversation with this lead. Now, if we scroll down, we can see the AI response. So the AI has said, hey, thanks for that. 3-bed homes are a great fit for solar. Starting with 2 or 3 solar panels is solid, but honestly, most people end up adding a few more just to maximize their savings. Quick question, does your roof get a lot of sunlight during the day or is it pretty shaded? That actually makes a pretty big difference when it comes to how much energy you'll get from the panels. So you can see the AI is pretty slick at responding. It's able to continue pre-qualifying the lead and driving the conversation forward whilst building rapport. Now, if we delve a bit deeper into the system, we can come to the follow-up automation where we can see the lead is currently waiting here at the wait 1 day step. And we can see that the follow-up status was set to true, which basically means that the AI decided that a follow-up would be applicable in this scenario. So from here, the lead will wait 1 day and they'll be sent the tailored follow-up message. Okay, now let me actually walk through the entire system build with you guys. Now, I might skim over some things because this is quite an elaborate build, but don't worry, I'll be giving all of these resources in my free school community. So feel free to go to the link in the description below, join the community, and you can download all of these resources completely for free. So let me just jump into talking about the tech stack. So obviously everything here is built on top of HighLevel. So if you're not aware of what HighLevel is, it's basically the CRM platform that we've got here, which allows us to have all of this functionality in one place. Then the actual agent itself is built within n8n, which we've connected into OpenAI, and we've also connected into Supabase to store the conversation history, as well as a knowledge base as well. Now, the actual message sending platform we're using here is called WAGHL, which basically allows us to connect WhatsApp directly into GoHighLevel without needing templates. Now, the standard way in which most people integrate WhatsApp is through WhatsApp Business API, which is good, but it does come with several drawbacks. Now, I'm not going to go into those in this video, but if you want a video explaining WhatsApp Business API versus WAGHL, then feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. Then for anyone in the US who wants a system like this, WhatsApp is probably not the best option for you guys. And you guys should be using Twilio SMS, which is directly integrated into HighLevel and is pretty straightforward to set up. Again, if you want a video on how to integrate Twilio into HighLevel and how to configure SMS, then feel free to let me know by dropping a comment in the description below. Okay, so let's kick things off by actually taking a look into the n8n automation. So we can see here, it looks pretty complicated, but it's actually pretty straightforward, right? So if we break it down, we have 3 main sections here. We have the red section, blue section, and green section. So you can see that each labeled, they each have specific purposes. So the first section here is for the AI intro message agent. Okay, so the main purpose of this AI agent is to process the input information from the contact form and produce that initial output message. And then of course we have the conversation agent, which is meant to have the main bulk of the conversation. And then finally we have the follow-up agent, which evaluates whether a follow-up is necessary or not and generates a follow-up message. Okay, so let's walk through each of these steps one by one. So first of all, we have the webhook. So the webhook is triggered from HighLevel, from the CRM, right? So whenever an input message comes from the customer, that webhook is triggered and it basically sends it over to here where this automation processes it in the applicable way. And then we set the contact ID, which is a unique ID, which allows us to identify that specific customer within the CRM. And that basically helps us when we want to send back the response from this automation back to HighLevel. And then we have a switch node where we're basically evaluating which path to go through. So either we go through the AI intro message path, the AI conversation agent path, or the AI follow-up agent path, depending on what scenario we're in. And again, this information is sent over from HighLevel, and we'll be delving into the actual HighLevel automations in a minute. So if we were to go down each of these paths, you notice we have the chat memory manager. And basically what this does is it interacts with our Postgres chat memory, which just extracts memory of the entire conversation with this specific lead. And then from there, on the AI intro message agent, we are basically using an AI agent to process the input message from the lead and generate a suitable output. And we then segment the response. So we want to break it down into up to 5 messages. So the AI can output anywhere from 1 to 5 messages, which are then sent over to HighLevel on the HTTP step, and then output again within HighLevel. And it's pretty similar for the AI conversation agent, but the AI conversation agent has one extra step here where it's classifying into either a human handover step or process using AI. Now it will hand over the lead to a human if the lead has specifically mentioned that they want to speak to a human or a human representative or speak directly with a person from the business. But if that's not the case, then the AI will process the message again using an agent and then segment the response and then send it back over to HighLevel within a HTTP step. And then finally, for the follow-up agent, we're using a basic LLM node, which needs to first process the conversation history and decide whether or not to follow up with the lead. And then if a follow-up is applicable, it will then write a tailored follow-up based on the conversation history. And then that output is passed as JSON and sent over back to HighLevel with a HTTP request node. Now, all of these fancy steps you see on the right-hand side, this is first of all our super base vector store, which is basically just storage of the conversation history, storage of the knowledge base as well, if we're using a knowledge base for the agent. And then you've got the Postgres chat memory, which again is the conversation history. You've got the OpenAI chat model, which is just a selection of which chat model we're using, which in this case you can see is configured to 4.1. And then we've also set the sampling temperature as well. And then finally, we've got the structured output parser. So you can see that this one is breaking down the messages into up to 5 different messages, which are then sent over to HighLevel and sent back to the customer. And then we've got this one, which is specifically for the follow-up agent. We've got whether the follow-up is needed, so that would be true or false. We've got a reason as to why the follow-up is needed or why the follow-up is not needed. And then we've got the suggested follow-up, which is the actual follow-up generated by the AI. Now let me give you guys an overview of the actual HighLevel automations that we have set up. So let me head over to GoHighLevel. And you can see from here, we've got 5 different automations, each with specific purposes. So the first one is the AI personalization step. So you can see here, the trigger is when someone has filled out the Facebook lead form. So that's the lead form that we were testing out. And then we tag the lead with WhatsApp AI. And then we added the lead to the pipeline. So you've got an add leads WhatsApp agent pipeline. And the lead is added to the form filled stage. We then also track the actual attribution source of the lead, so which specific ad the lead has come from. And then we trigger the webhook for the AI intro message agent. So we've got the AI webhook URL, which is configured as a custom value within HighLevel. And we're also setting custom data, which is the AI type, which is set to AI intro message agent. So this is what defines which path it goes through at the start. And then we clear the AI aggregator, which is basically an aggregation of the input message from the lead. So when a lead fills out the Facebook form, the message is initially put into the message aggregator field, which we need to clear at the end after actually processing that message. Then in the second workflow, what we're doing is we're aggregating the input. Now this is for the conversation agent. When the lead is actually responding to the messages through WhatsApp, we then come down here. We first need to identify whether the WhatsApp AI tag is actually added to the lead. If it is added, then we want to use the AI to respond. But if the lead does not have the WhatsApp AI tag, then we don't want to respond to that lead. And then if we do want AI to respond to the lead, we come down this branch where we're basically removing the lead from the follow-up workflow because we don't want to follow up with them. And then we need to update the message aggregator variable, which is set to the current value of the message aggregator field, plus the actual message which has just come through from the lead. And then after that, we update the pipeline. So we add them to the mid-conversation step because they're actually mid-conversation with us. And then we add them to the input processing workflow after that. So what we're doing within the input processing workflow is we're first waiting 45 seconds just so we can aggregate all of the input messages from the lead. And then after that, we trigger the webhook for the AI conversation agent so it can process the message and generate a suitable response. And then finally, we clear the message aggregator just as we did before. And then finally, after that, the response will be generated by the n8n workflow, which is then sent over to HighLevel. So you can see we've got the output response step here. So within this output response workflow, we're taking an inbound webhook, which is sent over from this HTTP request step here within the conversation agent. And then the response is sent out within a series of messages. We also update the conversation history, which we're storing within HighLevel as well. And we're sending out the responses here and also triggering the follow-up agent to distinguish whether or not a follow-up is required. And then after that, the lead will be taken through the follow-up workflow. And this workflow is triggered from this inbound webhook, which comes from this HTTP request, which basically comes down here and decides whether we either follow up with the lead or we don't follow up with the lead, in which case they exit the workflow. And then the final sort of minor extension to this workflow is the human handover step. So we've got the human handover here, and we've got a corresponding automation within HighLevel. So if a lead is handed over to a human, they're passed into this workflow, come down here, we send an internal notification to the team just to tell them this contact has requested to speak directly with a human. And then we also remove the AI WhatsApp tag from that lead because we don't want the AI to work for that lead anymore. Now that's a pretty detailed overview of the system, but if you actually want a video of me building the system in real time so you guys can follow along, then please drop a comment down below. Okay, if you want to build insanely high quality voice and text AI agents for yourself or for your business, then you can download everything I've shown today completely for free in my school community, the AI Agents Academy. The link is in the description below. Also, don't forget to subscribe, comment, hit the like button down below if you like these videos. And if there's anything specific you guys want to see, let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.